Okay, so this is part 3 of problem solving. So let's look at number 15 on this handout. Alright, so car rental agency advertised renting a Buick Century for $24.95 per day and then 29 cents per mile. Alright, if you rent this car for 2 days, how many whole miles can you drive on $100 budget? Alright, so it's going to cost you $24.95 a day, and then it's 25 cents per mile. And then you're told you're renting this car for 2 days, and then the question is how many whole miles can you drive this car on a $100 budget? Okay, so let's go ahead and represent the unknown. So this is number 15. All right, so represent the unknown. All right, so we're going to let x equal. All right, since you're trying to find the number of whole miles you can drive on a $100 budget, we're going to let x equal the number of miles. Okay, so then I'm going to set up the equation. All right, so here's how we're going to set up the equation. So we know that we have $100 to spend. We're using it for 2 days, and then each day it's going to cost us this amount. So I know that the flat rate for those 2 days will be 24. I know I have to pay $24.95 for each of those days. So I'm going to say 24.95 times 2. So that's going to give me for those 2 days how much I have to pay. But in addition to that, I have to pay for each mile I drive, I have to pay 29 cents a mile. So that's 0.29 times x. So if I drive x miles, I've got to pay 29 cents for each of those miles. And this cost, the number of miles I drive times 29 cents has to equal $100. Okay? All right, so that's the equation. All right, so we're gonna solve the equation. All right, so let's see. Let me find the calculator. Okay, so 24.95 times 2 is $49.90. And then 0.29x equals 100. All right, subtracting 49.90 from both sides. Combining like terms, I get 0.29x equal, and then that's going to give me $50.10. All right, so then to solve for x, which remembers the number of miles I can drive, I'm going to divide both sides by 29 cents. And so x equal, now when I do that, let's see, 50.1 divided by 0.29 equals, so I get this. All right, so I get, I'm going to go ahead and approximate this. So I get approximately equal to 172.7586 and so on. That's what my calculator gives me. All right, but remember the question is how many whole number of miles? All right, so how many whole miles? All right, so you got to determine whether you're going to say 172 miles or 173 miles. So remember, you only have $100. So if you say 103, make sure it makes sense. So here's what you're saying. So let's check and see if 173 makes sense. So you're going to say 24.95 times 2 plus 0.29 times, and then 173. 173 equal, see, that's 100.07. Now, it's only 7 cents, but the question is, what the statement was, that you only have $100 to spend. No one's going to give you that extra 7 cents. So you can't use 173 miles, since the total cost will be greater than $100. All right, so rounding off, now if you're told to round off the nearest whole number, if you're given this decimal and in, let's say, previous course you say round this off to nearest whole number, then yes, the answer would be 173. But in terms of the context of this problem, you got to look at your context. You got to look at what you're dealing with. You're dealing with $100, so you cannot say 173. So in the blank, where you given the sentence rather, So your sentence, you're going to say you can drive 172 miles and still meet the budget. All right. So when I say 102 miles, that's the you can drive a maximum of 172 miles and still meet the budget. So watch what happens if we check 172 miles. So 24.95 times 2 plus 0.29 times 172 equals, notice that's $99.78. So you're within budget. All right, so notice what we just talked about. You cannot use that 173, even though rounding off will give you that, because it doesn't meet your budget. Okay. All right, so that was 15. Let's look at 17. So in 17, you have this. So in one U.S. city, the taxi cost is $3 plus 80 cents per mile. If you're traveling from the airport, there's an additional $4.50 for tolls. How far can you travel from the airport by taxi for $27.50? All right, so let's see. So in terms of what you're looking for the number of miles you can travel. So we're going to represent the unknown. So we're going to let x equal the number of miles you can travel. Okay, so then we're going to set the equation. All right, so let's look at what we have here. So it's going to cost us $3. So I know that if I get into the taxi cab, it's going to cost me $3. Then it's going to cost me 80 cents per mile. So I know this so far. So I know it's going to cost me $3 plus 80 cents for each of those miles, just like the previous problem. But in addition to that, I have to pay $4.50 for tolls. So I have to add another $4.50, and then I only have $27.50. Okay. All right. So that's the equation. So now we're going to solve the equation. All right. So I'm going to get 0.80x plus 3 and 450 is 750 equal 2750. Subtract 750 from both sides and combine like terms. I get 80 cents times the number of miles is going to equal $20. All right, then dividing both sides by 80 cents. I'm going to get x to be 20 divided by 80 cents. I get 25. All right, so my sentence will be that I can travel 25 miles. Okay, so that was number 17. All right, then let's look at 31. All right, 31, it says this: the left and right pages of an open book are two consecutive integers whose sum is 469. So you want to find these pages. All right, so you have two consecutive integers, and when you add them up, their sum is 469. All right, so let's represent the unknown. All right, now in this case, you're looking for the page number. So let's call first integer. Looking for two things. So you got to represent those expressions. And second integer. All right, so if my first integer is x, let's say my first integer is 50, then my next integer is going to be 51. So to get the next one, I got to say x plus 1. So 50 plus 1 is 51. So that's how you represent consecutive integers. All right, so then you're told this, though. You're told that these two integers here, those two integers, their sum is 469. So that means I want to add these up. So I'm going to set the equation. So when I set these up, when I add these up, I'm going to get 469. So that's your equation. So now we're going to solve. So when I solve this, I'm going to get 2x plus 1 equal 469. And then subtract 1 from both sides. And combine like terms, I get 2x equal 468. divide both sides by 2, I get x to be 234. So 234. Now what that means is that this first page, the first page is 234, and the second page is 234 plus 1, which is 235. So your sentence, you're going to say the two page numbers are 234 and 235. Okay. And again, make sure it adds up to be 469, and it does. Oops, no it doesn't. I'm sorry, 234. Let me just make sure. 2x equal 460. So, okay, 234 and 235. There we go. All right, so 234 and 235. All right, number 33. Okay, so to make an international telephone call, you need the code for a country you're calling. The codes for Belgium, France, and Spain are 3 consecutive integers whose sum is 99. And you want to find the code for each country. All right, so 3 consecutive integers we're dealing with now. So we can represent the unknown. So we have first integer, second, and third. Okay, so if the first one's x, then the next one is going to be x plus 1. And the next one after that is going to be x plus 2. So for example, if this is 50, 50 plus 1 is 51, 50 plus 2 is 52. Okay, so that's how you deal with this. All right, now the equation. Okay, so if you have the equation, you're told that the sum is 99. So you're going to add these up. So x, the first integer, plus the second integer, plus the third integer has to equal 99. All right, so I'm going to solve. So when I solve this and combine like terms, I'm going to get 3x plus 3 equal 99. Subtract 3 from both sides and combine like terms. I get 3x equal 96. Divide both sides by 3. I get x to be 32. 32. So therefore, that means that my first code is 32, the second code is 33, and the third code is 34. So in terms of your sentence, you're going to say something like the codes are 32, 33, and 34. All right, now let's look at this example here. All right, so in this example it says find 3 consecutive even integers so that the sum of the smallest and the largest is 60. So 3 consecutive even integers this time so that the sum of the smallest and largest is 60. Okay, so let's represent the unknown. All right, so we have first integer, second, and third. All right, now this time they're consecutive even. So if x is the first one, so let's say that the first one, just think about this, if this is 34, so that's 34, then this one has to be 36. So to go from 34 to 36, I got to add 2. Add 2, so that means that this has to be x plus 2 to get the second one. To get the third one, I got to add 4. 34 plus 4 will be 38. So then I got to say x plus 4. So it's x, x plus 2, x plus 4. Now remember we talked about before, even if this said consecutive odd, even if this was consecutive odd, now this would have to be probably a different number here. No, it could still be this. So even if this was consecutive odd, it would still be those same expressions, because if this is 35, then 35 plus 2 is 37, and then 35 plus 4 would be 39. All right, now you're told this. You're told that the sum of the smallest, so this is the smallest right here. So this is the smallest, and this has to be the largest. So it says the sum of the smallest, so I'm adding the smallest, I'm going to set up the equation. So the smallest plus the largest, so the largest is x plus 4. So the second one is not used in the equation at all, because you're only interested in adding the smallest and the largest. And you're told that that sum is 60. All right, so there's your equation. So now you're going to solve the equation. So I get 2x plus 4 equals 60. Subtract 4 from both sides. I get 2x equal 56. Divide both sides by 2. I get x to be 28. All right, so that means this. That means that the smallest is 28, the second one is 30, and the largest is 34. So those are your integers. Those are your answers right here. So your sentence will be the three integers are the three consecutive even integers are 28, 30, and not 34, I'm sorry, 32, and 32. Okay? All right, so 28, 30, and then 28 plus 4 is 32. All right, so that was that one. Okay, let's look at that other example. All right, so this one says this: find three consecutive integers so that the sum of the smallest and twice the largest is 79. So find three consecutive integers so that the sum of the smallest and twice the largest is 79. All right, so let's represent the unknown. So that's this other example. So represent the unknown. So here we're dealing with three integers. So first integer, second, and third. All right, so this is, if this represents the smallest, so that's going to be the smallest here. And then the next integer will be x plus 1. And the next one after that will be x plus 2. So if this, let's say, is 10, then this has to be 11. 10 plus 1 is 11. And then 10 plus 2 would be 12. So that's where you get plus 1 plus 2 from. Okay? And so this would be the largest. Okay, so now let's set up the equation. All right, so that's what, so it says this. It says that the sum, so you're going to add up the smallest. You can say x plus, and then you can say twice the largest. Now when you do twice the largest, notice this largest is a binomial, so you got to say 2 times, in parentheses, x plus 2. So twice the largest. So the smallest plus twice the largest is 79. So that's your equation. So now you're going to solve. So you can distribute. So you get x plus 2x plus 4 equals 79. Combine like terms, I get 3x plus 4 equals 79. Subtract 4 from both sides. I get 3x equals 75. Divide both sides by 3. I get x to be 25. 25. All right, so that means that the smallest is 25, the next integer is 26, and the next one after that is 27. So your sentence, you're going to say the three consecutive integers are 25, 26, and 27. All right. Okay, let's look at number 39. Okay, so in 39, you're told that two angles are supplementary if their sum is 180. And you're told that the larger angle below, so this right here is the larger angle, right here, this is a smaller one, is 8 degrees more than 3 times the measure of the smaller angle. So 8 degrees more than 3 times the measure of the smaller angle. So you're told let x represent the smaller angle, and these two angles are supplementary, so which means that when you add them up, it equals 180. So we want to find the measure of each angle. All right, so this is 39. So let's go ahead and represent the unknowns. All right, so you have a smaller angle, and then the larger angle. All right, so they're letting x equal the smaller angle. Now for the larger angle, this is what you're told. You're told that the larger angle is 8 degrees more than, so that means 8 plus, and then 3 times the smaller, so that's 3x. So that'd be 8 plus 3x. Okay? Now, so what in terms of the diagram, this is what you just saw. This is x, and this is 3x plus 8. And then when you add these up, you're told they're supplementary, so which means that when you add up these two angles, it equals 180. So you're going to set up the equation. So when you set up the equation, you're going to say 3x plus 8 plus x equal 180. That's your equation. So this angle, the larger angle plus a smaller angle, they're supplementary, which means that when you add them up, you get 180. All right, if they were complementary, it would add up to be 90. So you do the same thing if it said complementary. Now the diagram would look different in that case though. So now combine like terms, you're going to solve. So I get 4x plus 8 equal 180. Subtract 8 from both sides. I get 4x equal 172. Divide both sides by 4. I get x to be 172 divided by 4. 43. All right, so what you found is this. You found that the smaller angle is 43 degrees, and the larger would be 8 plus 3 times 43. So that's 8 plus, and 3 times 43 is 129, and then 129 plus 8 will be 137. All right, so your sentence, you can say something like the two angles are 43 degrees, or the two angles measure, and 137 degrees. All right. Okay, 41. All right, 41, you're told this. The measure of the angles of a triangle are 3 consecutive even integers. And you want to find the measure of each angle. All right, so the measure of the angles of a triangle are 3 consecutive even integers. All right, so you have this diagram. And so let's go ahead and represent the unknowns. All right, so you have the first angle, second angle, and third angle. All right, so let's say this is the first one. So this is x. Then remember, they're represented by 3 consecutive even integers. So this is x, and the next one has to be x plus 2. So this has to be x plus 2 right here. Then this one right here has to be x plus 4. So that's how you get your expressions. So the first ones, let's say, is 60. Then 60 plus 2 is 62. And then 60 plus 4 is 64. Okay? All right, so now we're going to set up the equation. All right, so since these represent angles, you know that in a triangle, when you add up the 3 interior angles of a triangle, it adds up to be 180 degrees. So you can say x plus 2 plus x plus 4 has to equal 180 degrees. All right, combining like terms, I get 3x plus 6 equal 180. Subtract 6 from both sides. I get 3x to be 174. Divide both sides by 3. I get x to be, and let's see, 174 divided by 3 is 58. All right, now make sure it makes sense. See, we're talking about even, so this has to be an even number. Always look to see if your numbers match up. All right, so that means that the first angle is 58 degrees. The next one's 58 plus 2, so that's 60 degrees. And the next one's 58 plus 4, which is 62 degrees. And then if you add those three numbers, they do it have to be 180 degrees. So your sentence, you're going to say 3 angles measure 58 degrees, 60 degrees, and 62 degrees. All right, so let's look at 43.
Michael?
Yes.
We need you guys out there, so I don't know if you want to move so he can.
Okay, so 43, you're told this. You're told that the sum of 1/5, hold on, sum of 1/5 and twice a number is equal to 4/5 subtracted from 3 times the number. We want to find the number. Okay, so we gotta represent the unknown. So let x equal the number. Alright, so we're going to set up the equation. Alright, so you're going to set the equation based on what you read. Alright, so it's the sum of 1/5 and twice the number. So that means this, 1/5 plus 2x, because we let x equal the number, is equal to 4/5 subtracted from. Alright, so remember the phrase subtracted from. And then it says subtracted from 3 times the number. So that means 3x minus 4/5. Not 4/5 minus 3x. It's 3x minus 4/5. So remember, subtract from, you got to do the reverse order. Okay, so that's your equation. All right, so now we're going to solve. All right, so I'm going to rewrite this since we have a fraction in it, 2 fractions. Okay, so I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. And then combine like terms, I get 1/5 equals x minus 4/5, and adding 4/5 to both sides. And combine like terms, I get x to be 5 divided by 5, which is 1. Okay, so we're going to say the sentence, the number is 1. Alright, number 45. Okay, so here you're told that this rental company charges a daily rate of 39 cents plus 20 cents per mile. Suppose that you rent a car for a day and your bill before taxes is $95. So how many miles do you drive? So it's kind of like the previous problem, another problem we did. So you can represent the unknown. So we let x equal the number of miles driven. Alright, and so I'm going to set the equation. Okay, so we set the equation. Let's read this again. So you have to pay $39 for each day. So it's a daily rate, and you're only driving for 1 day. So it'll be just $39. Remember the previous problem was 2 days, but this is just 1 day. Plus, and then it's 20 cents per mile. So for every mile you drove, x is the number of miles driven, you have to pay 20 cents. Okay, so you have to represent it like this. And then your bill before taxes is $95. Alright, so then we're going to solve. So you can subtract 39 from both sides. And then combine like terms. I get 20 cents times x is, and then let's see, 95 minus 39 equals 56. And then divide both sides by 20 cents. I get x to be 280. Alright, so your sentence, you're going to say you drove 280 miles. Alright, and then number 47. Alright, so 47, it says, during the 2013 Rose Bowl, Stanford beat University of Wisconsin by 6 points. If their combined score totaled 34, find the individual scores. Alright, so you want to find the scores for each of those universities. So let's say represent the unknowns. Alright, so Stanford, and then Wisconsin. Alright, now this is what you're told though. You got to be careful which one you let x be. So let's look at who had the larger score, who had the bigger score, the most points. So Stanford beat University of Wisconsin by 6 points. So Stanford had the most scores, had the most points. Okay, so and the number of points that Stanford had was 6 more than the number of points Wisconsin had. So we're going to let x be the score of Wisconsin. Then so that means that if Wisconsin scores 30, then Stanford's would be 36. Okay, So, but we don't know what it is. All we know that it adds up to be 34. So we're going to say this will have to be x plus 6. All right, so notice how we figured out that we had to let x be Stanford's. Now, you got to be careful. Make sure you understand that if you let x be Stanford, remember Stanford's larger, so that means that this would have to be x minus 6. Okay? So you got to be careful. So if you let x be Wisconsin, Stanford has more points, so you got to say x plus 6. If you let x be Stanford's score, Stanford had the larger number of points, so this would have to be x minus 6. So if this is 30, this would be 24. Okay? All right, so you got to be careful which one you use. It does not matter which expressions you use, just make sure it's the correct expressions for each of those. All right, so we're going to set the equation. You're told that when you add these up, so you can either use these two or these two, you get the same answer. So I'll show you. So if you use these two, you're going to say x plus 6 plus x has to equal, what was it, 34? Okay, so the combined score is 34. Combine like terms, I get 2x plus 6 equal 34. Subtract 6. I get 2x equal 20, what's that, 28? Divide by 2. I get x to be 14. All right, so what that means is this. Remember, we're dealing with these two right here. So that means that Wisconsin score is 14, and then Stanford's score was 14 plus 6, which is 20. Okay? All right, now, if I use these two expressions, notice how it changes. So we're going to say x plus x minus 6 equal 34. They still added up to be 34. Combine like terms, I get this. Add 6 to both sides. I get 2x equal 40. Divide by 2. I get x to be 20. So notice this time x is 20, but it still makes sense because that's what we said Stanford was. So Stanford's 20, and then Wisconsin would be 20 minus 6, which is 14. So it did not matter which two expressions you used, but notice how we got these two expressions in either case. Okay, so that's going to take care of this lesson.